When it comes to horror movies, I am a big fan. However, I am sure I am not alone in saying that I prefer to keep cursed and scary stories on the screen and out of my life. Welcome back, spooky lovers. I am your host Kennedy, and today we are counting down some of the scariest movies whose horrors made their way into reality. So buckle up, cause this is the top 10 evil curses that plagued horror movies. Starting us off at number 10 is The Possession. Based around the allegedly haunted Dybbuk box, this 2012 supernatural horror film not only terrified viewers but cast members as well. Now, for those who may not be familiar, the Dybbuk box is said to be a horrifyingly cursed object haunted by an evil entity that will make your life a living hell. And as I'm sure you've put together at this point, the curse that surrounds this movie all has to do with their copy of the haunted box. Now, from the get-go, some might have felt nervous to be in a movie like this. However, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the star of the film, went in with little hesitation as he didn't believe in the supernatural prior to filming. After the movie was done, however, he had a different attitude. According to the cast, odd occurrences like light bulbs exploding and unsettling cold breezes plagued the set, and the cast all quickly agreed to never speak ill or mock the box during production so as not to further anger the entity that haunted them every day. Then, once production was wrapped, rumor has it the replica of the box used for the film was destroyed by facility fire to ensure it could never haunt another cast member ever again. Coming in at number 9, The Nun. A spin-off from the Conjuring franchise, The Nun is set as a prequel to the entire universe and centers around the hunt for an evil demon nun who is none other than the incarnation of the demon Valak. Now, pretty much all of the Conjuring films have had a spooky story follow them off the screen, and The Nun is no different. Corin Hardy, director of the film, said that while filming in a castle in Romania, he noticed two men in the room he was filming in. Now, initially he assumed they were crew members, so he didn't say anything and continued on with the take. However, once completed, he turned over to say something to them, and they suddenly were gone without a trace. Hauntingly, he never saw those entities ever again, but it certainly added a whole other layer of creepiness to the rest of the filming process. Coming in at number 8, Maximum Overdrive. Usually when it comes to horror, there is no one who does it quite like Stephen King. However, the one black sheep of his franchise and the film he would later describe as a moron movie is twice Golden Raspberry nominated comedy horror Maximum Overdrive. Loosely based on his short story Trucks, Stephen's one and only venture into directing follows the events after all machines on the planet become sentient, thus initiating a worldwide killing spree. The 1986 flop was fairly negatively received by both the public and critics, and so it's definitely not the first scary movie to come to mind when you think of his greatest hits. However, that being said, according to the cast and crew, what it lacked on screen, it made up for in haunting backstage phenomenon. Actor Laura Harrington said of her time during the film that, quote, "You always felt like someone was going to die on this set." And that wasn't an exaggeration. On several occasions, crew faced dangerous circumstances. Most famously, one cameraman was struck in his right eye by a large splinter of wood that had been lodged inside the blade of a lawnmower for a scene, and tragically lost his eye. Plus, if that wasn't scary enough, an actual hurricane hit the set during production, leaving the cast to believe that the set was cursed. Next up at number 7, Return to Babylon. If you are familiar with this film, you might be wondering what the heck it's doing on this list. I mean, it is often categorized as a drama after all. However, this 2013 love letter to the 1920s and the silent film industry has something far scarier attached to it than many other horror movies out there. According to the director of the movie, Alex Monty Kanawati, he and his producer happened to come across 19 rolls of 16mm film abandoned on Hollywood Boulevard one afternoon. The pair believed it was fate and so they began writing a movie that would utilize it and do justice to the old black and white film genre. However, as just about any horror fan could have probably warned him, there appeared to be a curse attached to the abandoned hand-cranked camera. During production, much of the cast complained of feeling like something otherworldly and oppressive was lurking around the set, while some crew members claim they were grabbed by unseen hands on more than one occasion. But it didn't end there. Once filming wrapped, the director was horrified to find that the negatives appeared to have captured inexplicable entities. The negatives from the allegedly cursed camera revealed frightening and grotesque changes to the actors, where their hands appeared stretched, mouths were twisted in agony, and their faces appeared hideously distorted. Plus, to make matters even more terrifying, entities were appearing out of thin air, none of which were present on set while the movie was being filmed. Coming in at number 6, The Conjuring. The first film of the franchise, The Conjuring, was released in 2013 and immediately received rave reviews from critics across the country. Although I imagine we're all familiar with this movie, just in case you have no sweet clue, The Conjuring is based on real-life paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, and the first film centers around the couple coming to assist the Perron family, who are experiencing strange and disturbing events in their new house. However, it wasn't just the house in the film that appeared to be haunted by an evil entity. Vera Farmiga, who played Lorraine for the franchise, said that she felt very uneasy while making the film, and so she would kind of superstitiously leave her script outside of her house, as she didn't want to bring any bad or cursed energy inside. Now, at first, you might think that sounds a bit extra, but it turns out she was onto something, as one morning, despite her script being nowhere near her property, she woke to find 3 mysterious slashes across her laptop screen, which, if you know anything about this franchise, is super creepy to say the least. Plus, according to cast and crew, when the real-life Perron family came to visit the set, a gust of cold wind would follow them around wherever they went. Coming in at number 5, Annabelle. The prequel to the first Conjuring, Annabelle centers around the backstory of the real-life demonic Annabelle doll, who was introduced in the first film. Now, I'm sure you've heard of Annabelle before. I mean, I know I've talked about her in other videos, but if you're feeling lost, just know she is pretty much considered to be the most cursed doll on the planet. However, despite being safely stowed away at Ed and Lorraine's museum, there are some who believe she may have cursed the very film that was created about her. Director of the film, John Leonetti, claims to have seen 3 fingers drawn through the dust on the set multiple times, which, as I kind of alluded to in the previous point about The Conjuring, is a terrifying sight, as Annabelle is known to only have 3 fingers. Could she have escaped her cage and haunted the film set? Some think so. Plus, the producer Peter Safran told a story about one of the actors playing a demon on set. Quote, "The first day that the demon was shooting in full makeup, we brought him up in the elevator. He walks out and walks around to the green room to where we're holding the talent. And just as he walks under, the entire glass light fixture falls down on his head. And in the script, the demon kills the janitor in that very hallway." So what do you think? Was Annabelle behind it all? Coming in at number 4, The Exorcist. First a best-selling book of the same name, this 1973 classic follows the demonic possession of a young girl and her mother's attempt to rescue her via, you guessed it, an exorcism. Now, while plenty scary on film, The Exorcist had its fair share of first events behind the scenes. As far as incidents that affected the general public, upon its release there were dozens of reports of fainting and vomiting while in the theater, and while you could probably chalk that up to a weak stomach, the movie also made national news when a 16th century church across the street from the theater where the film premiered was struck by lightning, causing the large cross attached to it to fall, which of course only added to the fear that the film could be cursed. However, the worst incident that led to the rumors of its haunting took place during filming, when star of the film Ellen Burstyn detailed a terrifying incident in which a massive fire burned the majority of the film's set to the ground, killing several crew members and leaving only the bedroom of the possessed girl untouched, which is unsettling to say the least, and definitely added to the fear that the film was cursed. Coming in at number 3, Rosemary's Baby. This 1968 box office hit has long been considered by critics and audiences alike as one of the greatest horror films of all time. For those that have not seen it, without giving away too many spoilers, it centers around a woman, Rosemary, who, as the title hints at, is pregnant and who begins to suspect that her elderly upstairs neighbors are a part of a satanic cult. However, despite being a terrifying movie filled with dark rituals and occult practices, the scariest part surrounding this movie didn't even happen on the screen. Producer William Castle had long feared the movie was cursed, but it wasn't until after its release, when he was hospitalized with kidney stones, that he really began to fear that some kind of evil entity was attached to the project. While in hospital, Castle claims to have experienced vivid hallucinations, one of which featured the film's lead character approaching him and attempting to kill him. Now, that in and of itself is certainly freaky, but matters only got worse the following year, when director Roman Polanski's wife, Sharon Tate, who disturbingly, just like the film's protagonist, was pregnant, was one of the 5 victims of the infamous Manson attacks, all of which led the world to believe a terrifying curse was attached to the film. Coming in at number 2, The Omen. If there's one film that has probably the biggest reputation for being cursed, I would venture to say it's this one. Released in 1976, this film centers around 2 parents and their son, who the father secretly replaced at birth after their biological son died. And, well, let's just say that chaos ensues. Of the many horrific incidents that plagued the actors and team on set, some included lead actor Gregory Peck and writer David Seltzer getting struck by lightning while on a plane together, Gregory's stuntman getting attacked so badly by Rottweilers on set that they bit through his protective gear, and the on-set zookeeper being mauled to death by a lion the day after completing his work for the movie. Now, all of these incidents were horrible and terrifying, but the one that really put the nail in the coffin was what happened once filming was done. Tragically, after filming had wrapped, the special effects director John Richardson and his assistant Liz Moore were involved in a serious car accident, and Moore was decapitated, echoing one of the most disturbing scenes in the movie. And last up in our number 1 spot, Poltergeist. Widely believed to be the most cursed film of all time, Poltergeist made its public debut in 1982 and has since garnered the reputation as being one of the best horror movies of all time. However, along with its widespread appreciation and commercial success, a trail of real-life tragedies have led viewers to believe that it is incredibly cursed. The rumors began on set when the young star Oliver Robbins claimed he nearly died after being choked by the arms of the evil puppet. Then, only a few months after its release, Dominique Dunne, who played the older sister Dana, was disturbingly killed by her ex-boyfriend. But sadly, the tragedies did not end there. A few years later, actor Heather O'Rourke, who played the little girl Carol Ann in all 3 movies, died at the mere age of 12 after a misdiagnosis of Crohn's disease led to a cardiac arrest. Now, the extra creepy tie with Heather's death and the film was that in one scene, Oliver Robbins' character has a poster for the 22nd Super Bowl, which wouldn't take place until 1988. And strangely, in real life, Heather died the day after the 1988 Super Bowl. The tragedies only continued after another 2 actors involved with the sequel died, and all of this amalgamated to fans assuming the real-life skeleton bones used in the film must have angered the wrong spirits who vengefully attacked the actors one by one. Well, there you have it, spooky fans. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to click that subscribe button down below and let me know in the comments the scariest curse attached to a horror movie you've ever read about. I'll see you next time.